In this video, we're going to cover subtraction, how we subtract. Again, this is the basic level video. It's fundamental. I think it's very important for everybody to know how to do these skills, especially without a calculator. I think we depend a lot on our cell phones or our calculators to do subtractions and divisions especially, and possibly multiplications. But we're going to try and learn how to, or remember how to do some of these things by hand, or learn it for the first time. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so the first thing I have here is that the word difference means subtraction. Okay, so you might have a word problem, which is sometimes difficult for some people. Word problems, I don't know what they're asking me to do. I don't know what they're telling me to do. But if you run across the word difference, it typically means subtraction. So that might give you a clue, at least of how to get started, all right, in a word problem. What's the difference between 6 and 12? Well, I guess 6 and 3. They might ask you, and then you'd have to subtract them, 6 minus 3, okay? All right. I was going to put a little bit more. The larger amount is used first. What I'm really trying to say is that in subtraction, the order of the numbers is important, at least for this level of math. Later on, we're going to talk about positive and negative numbers, but we're not there yet, so let's not worry about that. Let's keep it basic, and the order is important in subtraction, and we usually always, at this level, we're always going to put the larger amount first, and we'll see an example of that. We'll see several. So subtraction occurs with only 2 amounts at a time. So in other words, you can't subtract 3 things at once. It just doesn't work like addition. In addition, yeah, we can add 3 numbers at the same time. But in subtraction, you can only really subtract 2 amounts. You can get that answer and then maybe subtract it from another amount or something like that, but you're never going to have a problem that has 3 subtractions at the same time. So that's another clue if you're doing a word problem, right? So first off, if they give you the word difference, that's a good clue. It's probably a subtraction. And then if they only give you 2 amounts, boom, it's almost a guaranteed subtraction problem, right? Now, if they give you 3, you might want to look for another operation or something else, another step in that problem, just so you know. But these might be, this first one and the third one here might be good clues in word problems that you have a subtraction type of operation that you have to do. So sometimes it's necessary to borrow. We're going to see examples of that, of how to borrow, right? To complete the subtraction. And again, just like in addition, we have to line up the decimals, all right? So just like when we talked about in addition, you can use your fingers to help you with some of the subtractions, you know, counting on your fingers. It helps. Also, look for pattern recognition. Get familiar with certain numbers that when you subtract them, they always give you this, you know, you kind of know that answer automatically. Helps you, might help get to the answer quicker. So I have 8 examples today. One, well, again, you can stop the video at any time and try them on your own. But I'm going to start off with a simpler one, 8 minus 3. Again, I was taught to line up my subtraction and addition problems vertically. So that's how I teach it. But I've seen some people do it horizontally. Personally, I get lost. I don't recommend it. This one I could probably do both ways though. Okay, so 8 minus 3. This one you can just count on your fingers. 8 minus 3 and you have 5. Or some people like to count up. When I was a waiter, I used to count change back very well without the cashier doing the math for me. And you just start with the bottom one, you know, 3, and how much more to get to 8. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Takes 5 to get to 8. So I'm just basically looking for the difference between the 2 of them. And I can go like a top-down kind of thing, or I can go bottom-up with the addition. But I would recommend, at least for now, try to just focus on the subtraction. Don't try to do the addition way. You know, what I mean is like 3 and adding 1, 2, 3, adding until you get to 8. That is one way to do it, though. I'm not gonna lie. So we know that the answer is 5. Okay, let's continue. Let's move on. We got 7 more. All right, so let's just change it up a little bit, make it a little bit bigger. We'll step it up just a notch. So this is 15 minus 3. So just like in addition, we do column by column, okay? Starting with the right and moving to the left with the subtraction operation. So we just go 5 minus 3. And again, just pay attention. I did it in the first one. I didn't mention it, but we put the larger amount first. And then we put the second amount, the smaller one, after that. And then we do the operation, okay? Again, later on, positive, negative numbers, positive and negative numbers. That's going to be a whole different thing. But right now, we'll just keep it simple. Okay, so we go 5 minus 3. That's 2. 1 subtract minus nothing. You could technically put a 0 there. You really don't need it. You can just say 1, bring it down. 1 minus nothing is 1. So 15 minus 3 is 12. All right? Okay. Next problem. This will be the first one where I'm going to show you about borrowing. Right? We're going to look at a problem where we have to borrow. So what is borrowing? Borrowing occurs when we don't have enough in the larger number to subtract the bottom number. That make sense? What I'm trying to say. So again, let's just start. The first column is 0 minus 4. That's the problem, okay? 0 minus 4. When you have a spare time, you can ask Siri on your iPhone, and she has a pretty funny answer when you ask her, what is 0 minus 4? Anyway, so we can't do it. We can't subtract because I can't take 4 away from 0. 0 doesn't have enough to give me 4. It's nothing. It's 0. So I can't take something from nothing. So what do? I borrow from the next column over. And to do that, basically, I was taught to cross the number out in the next column, borrow one number from it. So if I take 1 away from 2, I'm left with 1, right? Now I have this 1 floating in the air, this 1 that I borrowed, and I'm going to go ahead and put it right next to the 0. Now it's changing the 0 into 10. It's making the 0 into a 2-digit number. So now it's 10. 10 minus 4. Now I can do that. Now there's enough in 10 to take away 4. So 10 minus 4 is 6. And this is no longer a 2, it's a 1. So 1 minus nothing is 1. 16. Okay? So that's how we borrow. We borrow from the next column over. All right, next problem. Let's try one more that's very similar. Again, you can stop the video and give it a go. See if you know how to do the steps. You know what I mean? Again, some numbers are familiar and they're easy just to do like that off the top of your head. And if you can do that, even better. And I'll show you how I would do it off the top of my head. Not really worrying so much about the work, right? 9 is close to 10. It's really close to 10. It's just 1 away from 10. It's 1 less than 10. So it's easy for me to subtract 10 from 31. 31 minus 10 is 21. But I didn't have 10. I had 1 less than that. So I would be 22. Right, that would be the answer. That would be 31 minus 9 should be 22 if I do it right. But if I have doubts, I could use my fingers, but it'd probably be better for me just to write it down and do the steps. So that's what we're going to do. 1 minus 9, I can't do it. 1 doesn't have enough numbers for me to take away 9. So I have to borrow. Sorry about the noise on the microphone. I'm pretty sure that one made a noise. I'm going to cross out, and I'm left with 2. I'm taking 1 away from 3. I'm going to leave 2 behind. And that 1 that I borrow, I'm going to put it right next to the other 1 that didn't have enough to take away 9. So now it's 11. I'm making the number into an 11. So 11 minus 9 is 2. And that's where you could count up, right? 9, 10, 11, there's 2, the difference. And then 2 minus nothing is 2. So I was right. I was good about my little assumption there, right? But the familiarity with the numbers, that 9 is close to 10, but not quite. Anyway, 22. All right, so let's go on. All right. So now let's get a problem that's a little bit bigger, a little bit more, a little bigger, I guess is the best way to put it. Okay, let's do that one. So this is looking a little bit more, we're stepping it up just a little bit more. All right, again, stop the video, see if you can do it. All right, I'm gonna get the red marker again. All right, so 5 minus 5 That I can do. It gives me 5, take away 5 is 0. Okay, so we have 0. 1 minus 3, I cannot do. 1 doesn't have enough in 3. Wait, what? 1 doesn't have enough in it to take away 3. There we go. I knew I could say it. So I'm going to borrow from the next column, which in this case is this 5. I'm going to leave 4 behind, and the one that I borrow, I'm going to make this 1 into an 11, kind of like in the last problem. So now I have 11 minus 3, and that should be 8. If I do it right. Again, I struggle with subtraction. I mean, I don't know why. I can remember being 6 years old in first grade. I could add all day, but subtraction was just, and I think I'm still traumatized a little bit, but I think that's right. And then I'll bring down my decimal. Decimals have to be lined up, right? Okay, and then I go to the next column. This isn't a 5 anymore, it's a 4, so 4 minus 5, I can't do it. 4 doesn't have enough to take away 5, so I got to go to the next column over, the next number, and take away 1 from that one. So I'll leave 1 behind from the 2. I borrowed 1 from the 2, I'm going to leave 1 behind. The one that I borrow, I'm going to go ahead and put it on that 4, okay? So it's kind of weird how I borrowed and I made the 5 into a 4. Now the 4 wasn't enough. Now I had to make the 4 into a 14. So this number got changed like twice, right? It's kind of, but it's okay. It works. You can do that. So 14 minus 5 is 9. And then 1 minus nothing is 19. So we get 1980, okay? I wonder if you got that one right. Hope you did. I hope you did. Again, it's practice. It's familiarity with numbers, and it's following the steps, following the correct steps. Okay, we have a few more to go. 1510 minus 283. And I'm kind of helping us out right now just by lining up the decimals right away, okay? It's not a very hard thing to do, though. Okay, so again, let me get my other color here, my red. And we just start from the right, go to the left. Did you already do it? Did you try it? Okay. So 0 minus 3, I can't do. Cross it out. Cross out the next number over. Now, if I take 1 away from 1, I'm left with 0. I have to put that. I have to put that now. That's a 0. Okay? And the one that I'm borrowing is going to go next to the 0, the first 0, and make that a 10. Okay? So now I have 10 minus 3, and that's 7. Going to the next column, I made this number into a 0, so obviously it's not going to have enough to take away 8. So 0 minus 8 doesn't work. I have to borrow from the 5. So I'm going to take 1 away from the 5 and leave 4 behind. The one I borrow, I'm going to go ahead and put on that 0 to make it into a 10. Now I can do the subtraction. 10 minus 8 is 2. 4 minus 2, that I can do, is also 2. And then 1 minus nothing is 1. So I get 1227. Okay? All right, I got 2 more. I hope you guys are giving these a shot before I do them. You know, it's a good learning experience, I would say. All right, so we have 210 minus what? Minus 5654. Now this one's going to be a little bit more challenging, and this one I am going to ask you to really, seriously, stop the video. And it's more challenging because of all these zeros on top. And it's like, well, what are all those zeros doing? It doesn't really, I mean, the zeros are fine because 210 is still larger than 5654. It's just that 210, a bigger number, has a lot of zeros, and we have to do all that borrowing to get to the right answer. So go ahead and give it a go. See what you get. Okay, let's go ahead and do it. And this is like a chain reaction of borrowing. It's kind of interesting, but 0 minus 4 cannot be done, so I go to the next number. Well, there's nothing in 0, right? I can't borrow 1 from 0, so I can't borrow from that one. So this is really strange. Watch this. So I can't do the subtraction. I go to the next column. There's nothing to borrow from him, or from the 0. Go to the next column. There's nothing to borrow from her, or the next column. So I got to go all the way to this 1 and borrow from this number, from this 1, and carry that 1 all the way over to that first column to start my subtraction. So here we go. I'm going to borrow from the 1. I'm going to leave nothing behind. So now that 1 turned into a 0. Can we all see that? Yeah, okay. Now, it's got a little crowded here, but now the one that I borrow is going to go to this 0. Now, if I start the whole process over again, can't do subtraction, can't borrow from this one. Now I can borrow from the 10. So I'm going to borrow from the 10, make that one a 9. And that 9, well, the one I borrow from the 10 is going to go over here to the next 0. So now this number is a 10, and that means that I can finally get that one all the way over to that first column. So now I'm going to borrow from this 10, leave a 9, and now finally that first column is a 10. It's just basically passing that one all the way over. You're just like piggybacking, like kind of passing the baton, right, over all the way to that first column. That's a tricky problem. A lot of people, and I don't know how clear my explanation is. I'll do it again. There's one more problem that we have to do, so hopefully it works out okay. All right. So let's go ahead and do it. But well, yeah, let's just go ahead and do it. So 10 minus 4, 6. 9 minus 5 is 4. 9 minus 6 is, well, my decimal. 9 minus 6 is my 3. It's a 3. And then 0 minus 5, can't do it. What do? I borrow from the 2. So borrow from the 2. I'm left with the 1. And that 1 that I borrowed is now going to make that 0 into a 10. So now 10 minus 5 is 5. And 1 minus nothing is 1. So that's a difficult problem for some people, especially by hand. Hopefully you don't have a whole lot of those to do like on an exam, because it takes time. Again, this is a good opportunity, again, like I said, in addition, you can challenge your friends to these kinds of problems. See how fast they can borrow and get through that process and get the answer. Friendly competition can be good. Can be good as long as you say burn at the end. No, you can't do that, because then you'll offend them and they won't want to race you, right? They won't want to compete with you. So got to be respectful, right? All right, so the last problem, I have it here on the board, on this other board that I'm just going to wheel over. I know it's kind of silly. I'm all wheeling the board around when really, you guys, I could have just wrote it down. But anyway, so here's the last problem that I want you guys to go ahead and give it a go and give it a try. All right? It says, what is the difference between 1020 and 10.10 and 933.55? Okay? Go ahead and give it a go. See what you guys get. All right. So we know that we usually put the first number, we have to in this kind of subtraction, put the larger amount first on top, and then we'll put the smaller amount underneath, right? So I'll go ahead and put 1020. Do I have space right here? I think I do. So we'll say 1020, 10. Good. It's a little crooked, but anyway. 933.55, 933.55. I'm gonna go ahead and scoot that 0 over just a little bit. Go ahead and move him just a little bit more over to the right. Okay, and it's a subtraction. All right, so I wonder what you guys got. Let's see if I get the same thing. So I'm going to go ahead and start on the right side, and we move to the left. 0 minus 5 I can't do, so I borrow from the 1. So I'm taking 1 away from 1, so that's going to leave me with 0. I'm going to put that 1 on that first 0, turning it into a 10. So 10 minus 5 is 5. I can do that. 0 minus 5, can't do that. Now I got to borrow from the next number over. The next number over is a 0, so I can't borrow from that one. So this is where it's kind of similar to that last problem that we did. Not as much, but a little bit. Okay, so 0 minus 5 can't be done. Tried to borrow from the 0, can't do it. I got to go over here to the 2 and borrow from the 2. Leaving 1 behind, turning this first 0 over here into a 10. Now this 0 can borrow from the 10, so I'm going to borrow from the 10 and get a 9. And that 1 that I borrowed, I can put on that first, the 0, right? It is difficult to explain. Try explaining this, okay? Anyway, so 10 minus 5 is 5. Bring down my decimal. 9 minus 3 is going to be 6. 1 minus 3 is, I can't do it, so now I got to borrow from the next number. The next number is a 0. Man, there's a whole bunch of these, right? So 1 minus 3 can't do it. Borrow from the 0, can't do it. I got to borrow from this 1, leaving nothing behind. this 0 turns into a 10, which I kind of had originally, but I'm gonna show you with the colors and show you all the process, right? Now this 10 can finally, I can borrow from this 10 and give it to this 1 to turn it into an 11. So I'm gonna borrow from the 10, leave a 9, this turns into an 11. 11 minus 3 is 8, I believe. That's a tricky one, I'm never good with that one, but anyway, okay. And 9 minus 9 is 0. I don't have to put 0, and 0 minus 0 is 0. The reason why I don't put the 0 is because they're both going to be zeros, okay? That's the only reason why I wouldn't put it. But anyway, so it's going to be 86.55 if I did it correctly, okay? So you can see that borrowing, when you have to borrow in subtraction, it's kind of interesting. And there's other ways to do it. I've seen other people do it differently. If you have a method that works for you, stay with it, you know, why not? You don't have to just, you know, do what I do. There's other ways to do math problems. And so, again, efficiency is key here. If you can master this skill, it might help you. It'll help you a lot. It'll help you further on down the road in mathematics. So just keep practicing. Have a good time.